Bridget, from your perspective, what are some tips, what are some techniques that you can teach other managers out there as they're interviewing to try to select that qualified candidate that's going to be here, past 6 months to a year?
You have to be really certain on what are the key attributes you need in that position. Like, what are the traits, what are the skills that are most important to that job? And then I always recommend building your interview around that, right? Because you want to drill down to figure out if they have the capability to do it, if they don't have the experience, and just the general skill set to do it. So you always hear the phrase, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So I like to build questions around those traits, seeing how they handled it in the past, to see if that's comparable to how we ideally would like it handled in in your business line. And so that's called behavior-based interview questions. So those are tell me about a time you had to deal with a tricky customer and how did you work through it? Or it's all those situational based questions. So that's always my number one tip is make sure to build in some questions around those really important key attributes for your job.
Back on the behavioral interview part, Bridget, I feel like that was kind of a game changer for me once I learned about that. Is when I see people not using it, I feel like the interview tends to not go well. Well, at our company, we do XYZ. Do you think you could do XYZ? And then the candidate's going to go, yeah, I'm awesome at XYZ.
What are some ways you can continue drawing out those behavioral interview answers from them in their questions?
Yeah, so I think, the key is you have to listen to them and hear what they're saying, and then having drill down questions based on what they're saying. So you're like, okay, well, walk me through specifically at Sarah, like, what was the customer saying to you? How did you respond?
So when you're interviewing, are you doing most of the talking or are they doing most of the talking?
They should do most of the talking. I try to aim if you're the interviewer, aim for like 80-20 or 90-10. I think they say allow like 5 to 7 seconds of silence. And someone will feel awkward enough that they'll speak up and it'll probably be the candidate, right? And
there's some of those red flags that we should be looking out for.
Call it the greeter check. Did the candidate treat them with respect? Did they talk to them? How was that interaction? The greeter, your receptionist, your director of first impressions, whatever you call that position in your firm, get their take on how their interaction was with them. So
growth means a lot of things to different people. Explain to me what it means to you.
What about growth, though? You if it's someone who wants to climb the corporate ladder and wants to be into leadership, yeah, maybe that's understandable if you don't have a lot of hierarchy and options. But what if it's someone who just really wants to grow in the industry and they want to grow their technical expertise, and that's something you can support? So you see turnover happen if you don't understand what are their career interests.
Have you made any hiring mistakes that you've learned from?
But we hired someone a little out of desperation. It was
we get in these situations, we're patient, we can't find somebody. We just feel like we're at the end of our rope and we just take anybody. And then it actually causes even more problems.
They say turnover costs are at least a third of a person's salary.
A good sign, right? If the manager used to care about something and then all of a sudden they're letting their standards slip with their applicants, that's probably a red flag.
I always look for the phrase when I hear a hiring manager say, well, we just need to get somebody in here. That's always my red flag.
Be intentional, about who you involve in your interview process. There can be a problem of too many cooks in the kitchen. I think it's good to involve someone who has really strong gut intuition and then keep it consistent. The value that you're going to gain after 4 interviews starts to diminish. Too many interviews, you're going to lose candidates. You can't have 16 interviews. Hopefully being more effective in your first few interviews, doing behavior-based interview questions.
Jeff, remember, we're being interviewed too.
It's kind of like if you're dating, right? And the person's not sure about you. It's well, if you don't like me, it's fine.